I love serendipity moments. I love them so much, I am now doing a podcast about them. Welcome to Serendipity Stories. I'm Linda Fitzgerald, your host. I'm going to share with you serendipity moments in my life. And the reason I'm doing that is I want you to start noticing how serendipity is showing up for you. How can it launch you into your next move? What unexpected, wonderful opportunity, what breadcrumbs are out there for you to follow to take your life, your business to that next level of success? Today, I'm going to introduce you to a friend of mine, Martin Rutte. And of course, as you may guess, we met through serendipity. Let me tell you about Martin. Martin is an international speaker and management consultant. He has worked with the World Bank, Sony Pictures Entertainment, Southern California Edison, and Virgin Records, to name a few. He has presented on his topic Heaven on Earth in the US, Canada, England, Germany, Brazil, Mexico, Spain, Sweden, and Costa Rica. Martin's newest book, Project Heaven on Earth, talks about 3 simple questions that can help change the world. That book has special meaning for me. We're going to talk about that together. Martin helps you discover what heaven on earth is for you and what simple, easy, concrete action you can take in the next 24 hours to begin making it real. I'm so glad you're here. Join me as I introduce you to my friend, Martin Rutte. Hello, Martin. It's so nice to see you.
Hi, Linda. What a delight to be with you again. Thank you.
Thank you. It is just perfectly appropriate to have you on my Serendipity Stories podcast because I really feel like the way we met was truly serendipity. We met through my book publisher, and there were quite a few of us meeting together on Zoom because that's how things were happening. And there was this remarkable opportunity to break into groups and talk about our book titles.
Yep.
And when we did that, we broke into groups. It was so wonderful when you helped me name my book more accurately. I thought I had the name, and you gave me some amazing advice on the adjustments I need to make. So that for me, and then, you talked about your book title, and it just felt like we need to talk more. So we broke out into the other groups, and then we had a little chat, and we stayed connected and helped each other on some other things since then.
That's very, very true. I've been working on I have been working on, so I don't know when people will see this, but currently we're in mid-June of 2021, and I'm well through most of the writing of the book. And it's a book about paradise. And I think I had a title, I don't remember, excuse me. And then you said, what about Paradise Found? And I went, oh my God, as opposed to Paradise Lost. And I was like, duh, it was so obvious. I have, of course, acknowledged you in the book. So Paradise Found, yes, that came out of you.
And my title was Dust Off Your Dream. And you talked with me about change dust to dusting so that it's active, and add an S to your dreams, because people have more than one dream. And I was thinking, yes. I went into that thinking I knew my book title. It's amazing how when you bring other people into your life and they have ideas, that it just helps us go to another level.
Well, we're talking about serendipity here, and I don't know if serendipity, well, serendipity is out of your control. It's in God's controls, in the universe, whatever word you like to use. I like to use the word God, and something just happens that is like, wow. We're looking at renting a house here next winter, and the house is like literally half a block from my framer. And I was at his house and I went, hey, that's the house we're looking at. I was like, we could be neighbors. So serendipity, yes.
Oh, I love that. So you brought some stories with you. We talked a little bit briefly through some exchanges through email, and you have some amazing serendipity stories. Where do you want to start, Martin?
I want to start with how I got to speak at the Harvard Business School. So years ago, I was in Toronto teaching this course called The Success Factor, and it was about people achieving dreams, goals beyond what they believed possible. That was very important, because people think, well, I have to believe I can do something in order to do it, which is not accurate. And the reason I know that's not accurate is because you and other people in your life have achieved things that you didn't believe possible. And how many times have you heard people say, oh, I don't believe that I did that? It's because belief's not necessary. Uh, it's beyond belief. So there was this young woman in the course that I was teaching about setting goals beyond what you believe possible. And she said, well, can I tell you what my goal is? Sure. I want to go to the Harvard Business School. I said, yes, okay. And she said, that's it? I said, yeah, that's it. I said, well, what do you have to do to get in? Well, you have to apply, but I'm Canadian, I'm a girl, I don't have enough experience, and I said, blah, 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 blah. All right, fine. Again, what do you have to do to get in? And she said, well, I have to apply. Okay, so when are you going to apply by? And she was like, oh, whoa, whoa, because I cut all the crap about, I can't do this because. Anyway, she got into the Harvard Business School. And she phoned me so excited and said, Martin, I got in again. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What can I do for you? And out of my mouth, before I even had a thought, the time to think about it, I said, get me a talk at the Harvard Business School. And I just said, and she said, okay. And I went, oh, okay. And a couple of weeks later, she phoned back and she said, I've got a talk for you at the, what's it called? The Ethics Forum, the Harvard Ethics Forum in the business school on this date. And I was so nervous. But anyway, I went and I was invited back 3 extra times, and it was phenomenal. So that was serendipity.
Wow. And little did you know, here you were helping her with her dream, and she advanced yours.
That's very well said. I mean, I didn't even have the thought of speaking at Harvard. Mm-hmm. It wasn't that I was denying it. I didn't have the thought. But boom, when she went, what can I do for you? Get me a talk.
When I talk with people about achieving their dreams, and I even have in my book, what are you doing to help other people achieve their dreams?
Great line.
What goes around comes around. I used to be the person that wanted to do everything by myself, and I'd be so proud at the end to say I did it by myself. Then I realized this is really hard. And then I got more connected and I expanded my network with other people that are into personal development and really care about that, and saw it's not competition. It's all of us helping each other, because when you really get down to what people's dreams are, we don't have the same dreams. And me advancing your dream and you advancing mine lifts both of us.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. The phrase that I use is, you have to do it by yourself and you can't do it alone.
Oh, can I get that? I'm putting that quote in my book. Sure.
Yeah. Okay, another one, chicken soup. As you know, I'm co-author of Chicken Soup for the Soul at Work, New York Times business bestseller. We've sold over 1.1 million copies so far. It's translated into 15 languages. So how did all of this happen? Years ago, I met Jack Canfield, and we really connected. And I went to speak at one of his events, and it was great. And then in 1995, I was doing business consulting with large firms, mostly in the US. And I came back from several companies. I said to my wife, something really different is going on out there, something I've not seen before. Namely, successful companies were laying off people. Mm-hmm. And that was because technology was coming in strong, work was going offshore to Asia. And so for the first time ever, this contract between, I knew if I worked for you and I did my work and the company was successful, I had a job. If I didn't do my work, okay, I'm fired. But now the company's successful, I'm doing my work, and technology's coming in and work's going offshore. So it was a whole new ballgame in terms of what work meant. So I'm complaining to my wife, and she said, look, stop bitching and complaining. Let's do something about it. And she said, let's do a chicken soup book. And I went, what? So I phoned Jack Canfield, a friend, and I said, Jackie, I've got this idea. I want to do a book called Chicken Soup for the Soul at Work. And he said, okay. Just like that.
Oh, it wasn't hard at all. All you had to ask.
Was that, well, he has a great line, Jack. If you don't ask, you don't get. And I mean, it was amazing. Our first printing, get this, was 250,000 copies. It's amazing. Last time I heard, Chicken Soup had sold the series, not our book, but the series had sold over 800 million copies, and they're going for a
Amazing.
billion. So
Amazing.
that was serendipity. Meeting him, uh, and then the idea for the Chicken Soup book, and how that opened just incredible doors. Jack said a great line to me once that a book will open doors that you know of, but more importantly, will open doors that you've never dreamed of. And Chicken Soup certainly did that for us. So that's another serendipity story.
Whew. And the fact that it's still something that's going on right now. I mean, that's a book that people are still pulling off the shelves.
They still are. And when you say, you're a Chicken Soup author, whoa, and New York Times business best-selling Chicken Soup author, yeah,
Right.
it carries a lot of it. And I would do anything for him,
Mhm.
anything. The man is remarkable. Um, Another serendipity story was this was in the late 80s. I was in Toronto and living and working, and my wife and I had just come back from Hong Kong. I think this was the second time that I'd spoken at a joint meeting of the Canadian and American Chambers of Commerce. And I went into this funk, and I didn't know what it was about. My marriage was wonderful. My work was wonderful. So what's going on here? It's like, tongue and groove carpentry when the two pieces of wood just, they were apart and for no reason. So I went to an Augustinian monastery north of Toronto for a retreat. I'm Jewish, but Jews don't have retreat centers. So I ended up there. And on Sunday morning, I went to Mass, but I mean, I didn't clearly participate in Mass, not a Catholic, sat at the back. And this thought popped into my mind. You mean God? And all of a sudden it was like, what? The two pieces of wood just went click. And I thought, ooh. So the next phase of my life is about God in the workplace. Now, I came back to my office in Toronto and I said to my staff and to my wife and friends, I want to talk about spirituality in the workplace. No, no, are you nuts? You're going to lose your reputation. No, 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 no. And that summer I went to LA, and Jack was one of the people I spoke to, about 20 or 30 other people, all of whom said, you want to talk about spirituality in the workplace? Go ahead. And so I saw that the issue was my fear of your reaction. So then I went back to Toronto and really started working on opening this inquiry into what is spirituality in the workplace, not from my definition, but from your definition. And so that serendipitous uh, event, it was beyond serendipity. It was like, I had a Episcopal bishop friend of mine, God bless his soul, Bishop Henry Hill, who said it was an inbreaking. You couldn't plan for this. There was nothing. It just went click, and I went, that's it, God. And it scared me, because in those days, and still to these days, people are thinking you're going to proselytize, you're going to impose, but that was not even a thought in my mind. Um, what I really wanted to do was to help people for whom the idea of having more spirituality in the workplace, by their definition, again, was something that was interesting. And so that launched a whole 20, 30-year career in terms of opening that conversation through conferences, through academic journals, through helping people with books, all kinds of things to get that conversation normalized in this place called work.
I love that. And a real distinction for me when you say that is by their definition. Because then just by you saying that to me, it changes. I don't show up thinking everyone's going to think like I am. It's talking about spirituality and letting everyone have their own lens to look through, and that's okay.
And when people start talking about what their lens is, it deepens the whole appreciation of the field for everyone. And the way I got around it, got into it rather, is more specifically in business. The ongoing question, the inquiry that people ask every single day is, how can I make my business more successful? when you come up with an answer, you don't stop asking. It's not like a closed inquiry, like what's the capital of the United States, Washington, D.C.
Right.
It's over. But what is beauty? What is wisdom? What is love? What is spirituality in the workplace? It's an ongoing inquiry. And so the ongoing asking is what deepens your appreciation of the field. And that was the breakthrough that came to me, that it's not the answer, it's an inquiry if you choose. And once people knew that I was not interested in imposing, and I was much more interested in their discovering what it was for them, like 90% of people would say, oh, okay, well, let me tell you what it is for me. I remember a great story. I did a talk once to a women's wear company in Oregon, I think it was. And we went around the room and I said, what's spirituality for you? And so there was love, wisdom, laughter, ethics, all kinds of answers. And one woman said, better drinks in the soft drink dispenser. And I thought, what the heck does that have to do with spiritual? But I didn't say anything. So we go around the room and I come back to her and I said, let me inquire a little bit. What does you mean by that? Well, she said, Martin, isn't it obvious? If I go out and drink crap from the pop dispenser, the soda dispenser, it's going to hurt my body. And my body is where my soul resides. So you've got to have clean, good, organic, natural, healthy drinks in the drink dispenser. So my body is healthy. So my spirit has a healthy home. And she taught me something very simple. I don't know what your answer is, but you do.
Oh, you just made me realize the importance of the follow-up question to understand and be curious instead of leaving the conversation with, well, that was odd.
Or I disagree with you.
Right.
Linda, that's wrong. Now what? Okay, yeah. You want to open it so people can begin exploring it. 15, 20 years ago, the only thing I could talk to you about in the workplace was profit, revenue, marketing, sales, HR issues, and then more of the personal. The first one was what's my career aspirations, and then mental health, gay, Black, a woman, I'm an alcoholic, I'm a drug abuser. Every time one of those conversations came, oh, you can't talk about that, you can't talk about that, because they thought it would disrupt the workplace. But we found ways to talk about it that were useful to the individual and to the enterprise. This is, I think, one of the last things on that spectrum.
Yes.
All right, new one.
Sure.
One more. So about 25, 30 years ago, I was doing a keynoting at a conference on spirituality and work in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And I'm sitting by myself off in the green room before I was going to go on. I was thinking, if every business in the world is spiritual, is that what you want? No. If we could transform business, because business is the temporal power in the world today, if we could transform business, we could transform the world. And then this thought popped into my head, oh, you mean heaven on earth? And I used a swear word. I said, wow, you can't say that. And then I thought, what? Well, why can't you say heaven on earth? I can talk to you about hell on earth, can't I? That's permissible conversation. Why can't I talk about the longing, the soul's longing that you have for the kind of life and work and family and relationships and nation and world that you want? And so that, again, quote, serendipity in breaking caused still this 30-year piece of work on how do we have heaven on earth show up organically in the world? And one of the ways that I know that it's more than a good idea, so my website, Project Heaven on Earth, you'll see all this. But if you go to Google and put in the phrase heaven on earth in quotes, I did that a couple of days ago, 2020, or whenever you're listening, put it in for last year, it was about 4.3 million results.
Wow.
For 2021, where are we now? We're about halfway through June of 2021. It's over 20 million. 5 times the entirety of last year in half the time. So something clearly is going on under the surface. I think it's because people are saying the current story, COVID, environmental destruction, degradation, God forbid, the threat of nuclear war, the Palestinian-Israeli hoo-ha. Enough of this. We need a new story for what it means to be a human and what it means to be humanity. And why not make that story, if we had a magic wand, why not make that story heaven on earth? So that's what the new work is about. And that was completely serendipitous. That was, again, an inbreaking that just, I went, and the moment I heard the phrase, I knew that's the next phase of my life.
And that book is actually what brought the two of us to interact. And the reason I share that is during the time when we helped each other title our books, we had the chat and you talked about this book. And I thought to myself, I'm going to get that book. So I got the book. And what was amazing, I'll show it to you in just a moment. What was amazing to me was the surprise I had when I opened the package. Because I thought I was going to receive a book about this big and about this thick. That was my expectation. And my out-of-box experience as I opened the package was, wow. And what I thought to myself is, I need to tell Martin. My intuition was saying, Linda, report back to Martin on this. My thought to you was, I feel like you were underselling it, because the image, when you look at images and you buy a book online, you have no idea how big it is. You almost need to put a pencil by your book so people understand. But look at the size of this book. Look at the thickness of this book. I was completely blown away. And I thought I was buying a book that I was going to read. It's a workbook. There's tons of writing in it. Now, those of you that have seen me read books, I have tabs because I find my favorite spots. And normally there's a lot more tabs in this, but you know why this book doesn't have a lot of tabs in it? Because my writing is in here. As I scan through, I see everything I've written and everything I've highlighted. So I told Martin, I contacted him through, I think it was through your regular website address. And I sent a picture and I just let you know what the book meant to me and what it meant to go through the whole experience. And that brought up our follow-up conversation that was me following my intuition. And there was a part of me saying, oh, Linda, he met you at this publisher thing. He might not even remember who you are. So I reminded you that we had helped with book titles. And little did I know that it would lead to this, me interviewing you on my podcast of Serendipity Stories.
So it's wonderful. Little did I know that I got a title of a new book from you. I know. Serendipity.
The way we step into each other's lives, I have different types of serendipity. I haven't yet figured out all the buckets and labeling them. And I find my interviews are helping me with that. In break was the phrase you used, right? In breaking. That almost seems like a type of bucket, a type of serendipity. And another label I've given is what I call angels and heroes. When someone steps into our life, like you mentioned, Jack Canfield, and later it kind of turns out they're an angel and a hero for you. And I just want to share with you that meeting you to me was an angel and hero story. And I'm careful how I use the word, how I want people to understand the word angel and hero. I put hero in just for the people that aren't comfortable with the angel word, but it's not that someone comes in to rescue you or me. It's more that someone comes in and helps pivot me more toward my dream. Lovely. Beautiful. I have nothing to say to that. I mean, that's right on the button. The analogy is like, when you're playing a violin, your finger has to be in the correct place on the string, not 1 micron off. And your definition, that's exactly it. Yeah. I think you're onto something very important, especially, which I've never thought of, is the different buckets, different kinds of serendipity. In breaking clearly is one. I got to tell you one that happened this morning. So I went to the doctor to have my blood work done. And there was this guy outside, tall, young man, 25. And he'd fallen. And I'm like, oh my God. And there was somebody else beside him. I go up and are you all right? Are you all right?
And yeah. I'm trying to get home. I don't have enough for a taxi. So I've heard this story before. We all have. How much is a taxi? $8.75. And I thought, my wife, whenever somebody asks on the street for money, always gives, as did an old friend of mine too. And so I reached in my wallet. I don't have a $10 bill. So I have a $20 bill. And I give it to him. And he said, "Are you serious?" And I said, "Yeah." And his name is Jesse. And there was a like a boom. I hope he doesn't use it for drugs, but in one case, my intention is the money supports him in some way that I don't even know. So was I being an angel to him? Yes. And he was also being an angel to me. I remember a guy in Santa Fe once sitting on the edge, sitting on the ground. He was fine. I just walked by and I started talking just a little bit, but I was in a hurry. And that always bugged me because I felt and to this day feel that he was an angel sitting there for me. And I didn't spend enough time with him. I always regretted that. So maybe that was I just got this. Maybe that was his lesson to me. And the same way with Jesse this morning. So we honor Jesse.
I love that. And what I find are the moments like that that make me uncomfortable and wishing I had done something else, wishing I'd handled it differently. I look back at those now and I've learned to retell the story instead of kicking myself over time of could have done it different, coulda, shoulda, woulda. Instead, I say that was a real lesson for me. And because that happened, it kind of left a mark for me and it lets me know I'm going to slow down a little bit more or I'm going to interact with people differently.
Yeah, that last point, interact with people differently. Why couldn't you have been an angel? How do I know? Interesting. In the last couple of days, this word angel has come up a lot. I think almost once each time in the last 3 or 4 days, it's just coming up more. So how do I know he's not an angel? I mean, am I an expert on angels? Well, not yet, but all right, I'm declaring that I am. I'll look for angels. So Jesse the angel, and that guy in Santa Fe, the angel.
I love that. And I had noticed all these coincidences, and I've tracked serendipity moments for a long time. When I look back at my journals, I can find some great stories that I'll be sharing with people over time and in my future book on serendipity. And what I've been tracking them, and I've been telling people for a long time about, oh yeah, someday I'm going to do a book on it. And okay, Linda, when is that going to happen? And now I'm doing a podcast on it, bringing more attention to it. And when I think back, I used to notice the moments more of when some peculiar things happened and it interrupted my schedule. And then because of the interruption, something amazing happened. I'll briefly describe what I mean for you. We were in New York City and we took the train the wrong way because we were visiting and we didn't know. And then we finally fix it. We get corrected. We get on the right train. But as we get on that right train, I'm there with my son and my two boys, 10 and 12. And there's a little boy, 10 years old, with his mom holding hands, and the doors close on their held hands. He's with me in the train. Mom and dad are not.
Ooh.
And the train goes, and I'm banging on the window saying to the mom, he's with me, go down there, we'll meet you at the next stop. My heart is just racing. I'm so worried for the parents. At the same time, I know the boy's safe because I told them, I said, I'm not leaving you. You're going to be with me until we reunite you with your family. And I have my husband and my kids there. And we get to the next stop and I talked to the boy. He said, well, I'm from Australia. My parents don't have cell phones, so we can't use that. And everyone else on the bus says, or the train says, you be careful because we are not on an express train. You're going to get off at the next stop. It's quite possible the parents will fly right by while you're at that stop. So don't be surprised. And it was, oh my goodness. And then, we wait, we're with the boy, we're trying to make it fun. And boy, this is an adventure. And the next train comes and we're waiting. And this is, 15, 20 minutes later, we've talked to him, tried to make him comfortable. And at the same time, it's just an experience we never could have imagined having. Then the next train comes. Sure enough, it stops. So we're so relieved. And out come his parents running to grab him, give him a hug, meet us. We all hug each other. This is about 12 or 15 years ago.
Oof.
We all hug each other. And then we get on a train together to the next stop. And we're sitting and we're chatting, and they take a picture of my entire family. And that's it. And then it was over. And then, we have to leave, and we leave. And then I think to myself afterward, I wish I took a picture of them. And I laugh and I said, you know what? I feel like we're going to be on an Oprah show in 10 years of the reuniting of the group. But the aha moment for me, the epiphany for me was, now I understand why we had to take the wrong train.
Wrong train. Yes.
And I've had a number of those sort of stories. I don't know how to name those, but it's almost like a error or a mistake, or you think something goes wrong, and then later you realize why that needed to happen.
I got the title for you. Here we go again.
Tell me.
You may not think it's serendipity, but ...
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. Who are you to talk about serendipity?
Right. But I have moments like that. So I have a number of stories like that in my history. And those were the ones that I used to log. Those are the ones where I felt like, I was stepping into someone else's life to be their angel in the moment.
Well, good. Because one of the questions you asked was what the reverse is. And it's exactly that. I never thought of as angels. So I've been going around telling this joke recently that I adore, and I'm dropping it like multiple times a day. I'm waiting for it to come back to me, actually. So here it is. What do Alexander the Great and Winnie the Pooh have in common?
Don't know.
The same middle name.
So obvious. Didn't get it.
99.998% of people do not get it. And when you can see their minds going, the same middle, well, what's their middle? Oh, I get it.
And see, I had to say it a few times
to get it. That's what I've been using. So another chapter title might be, how do you cause serendipity?
Mm.
Yeah, how do you cause serendipity? So for me, it's that joke. And I have never done a joke as frequently as that one. It's simple. Sometimes I have to, can I tell you a clean joke? All right. But so the people go, oh yeah, okay, sure. There's something about that joke. Well, first of all, it's my personality. It's so completely ridiculously stupid, and so elegantly simple. And it's just brilliant, I think. I don't even remember where I heard it. So if you're listening, you can use that as your way to cause serendipity in the world, or some other joke or magic trick or something.
Now, magic is a word that you use when you talk in your book about heaven on earth. So I think it would be a mistake for me not to let you talk a bit about your book and your 3 questions, if you want to share them, or talk
Sure.
about the fact there are 3 questions. That concept is amazing. So please, let's go there for a little bit.
All right. So when the thought popped into my head, oh, you mean heaven on earth, I did not know what I was talking about. I knew that I didn't want to proselytize any particular, this is heaven on earth. I know what it is and you don't. So I just started going around to people and saying, well, what's heaven on earth for you? What's heaven on earth for you? What's heaven on earth for you? Over and over and over and over. And I began, I began to see patterns in the answers. And then I developed these 3 questions to get people into it instantly. So we didn't rehearse this, but let me ask you the 3 questions, if I may, and you answer them.
Sure.
Good. So question 1, recall a time when you experienced heaven on earth. Recall a time when you experienced heaven on earth. What was going on?
Do you want me to share it or do you want me to think?
Please, yes, please.
Oh, for me, it would be one of those, is it in-breaking? Is that what you talked about? One of those in-breaking moments of being on the college campus where my kids were planning to go. They were in early high school, and I was wondering, how in the world are we going to afford this? And I had this feeling wash over me of, Linda, don't worry, both of your boys are going here. And I attribute that to Mary and the Virgin Mary, just a message from above, because it was not my thought. And it gave me a tingling, which is really, I have not many of those moments, but I have a few of them. And I stopped worrying about where they were going to go. And my kids both graduated from that place.
Lovely, lovely. Second question. Imagine you have a magic wand.
Yes.
And with this wand, you can have heaven on earth. What's heaven on earth for you?
To have more people recognize the serendipity in their life and how the universe is conspiring to help them, and other people are helping them move forward if they just ask.
Wonderful. And the third question, what simple, easy, concrete step will you take in the next 24 hours? What simple, easy, concrete step will you take in the next 24 hours to have more of that?
Schedule 3 more of these interviews so I can get the word out about serendipity and help people notice and, get the word out and realize that it's there for them and it's something that they might not be tapping into.
Fabulous. So let's go through the 3 questions. Question 1, recall a time when you experienced heaven on earth, and you talked about getting that intuitive knowing about your 2 kids at college. What you didn't do, and what no one does virtually, is ask, what do you mean by heaven on earth? So you notice that I never defined what I meant by heaven on earth, and yet you answered the question.
Right.
And it's because of what I call an already knowing within you, that you know what heaven on earth is, and you connect with that, and then you speak it. The second question, here's the magic wand, and with it, you can have heaven on earth. And you notice, bang, you went right to it, in essence, around serendipity. The purpose of the magic wand is to remove the necessity of having to know how you're going to do something. And if you don't have to know how, you can just go, well, here's what I want. And it's what that we want to focus on, which you did. And then the third question, what simple, easy, concrete steps will you take? And you went right to that. Schedule 3 more podcasts. So the 3 questions are designed, A, that you do already know what heaven on earth is, in that you've had 1 or more experiences of it in your life. Secondly, here's the magic wand, and that unleashes the deep knowing about what heaven on earth beginning in its fullness. And then the third question, I just want to leave it there. I want you to actually engage. And how do you engage? By making a commitment that you'll do something simple, that's a key word, underlined, simple, easy, and concrete in the next 24 hours. And so that's how we get people into heaven on earth, by their definition and by their action. And then the rest of the book goes into 7 other gateways. Because as I began asking those questions, I began to discover gateways that people have, whether it's an internal gateway and hear about heaven on earth, about your relationship, about a value, living a value in the world, about ending a suffering. So each of those gateways then is gone into deeply in the book, because you have to come at them differently in order to get them, so that you end up with a clarity of, okay, I know what heaven on earth is. I'm easy about this. This is a normal part of my conversation and a normal part of my action, and you contribute to getting more of it. And as we talked earlier, the Google numbers between 2020 and 21 so far, exploding. So something is going on under the turmoily surface of society. And the book, did we do this? I don't know if we did this.
Oh, if we didn't, let's do it again.
Well, no, I want you to, yeah. What's the title of the book?
Project Heaven on Earth, or I can only think, because I know, Project Heaven on Earth.
Correct. Both the verb, project heaven on earth, and the noun, project heaven on earth. That's right. And so The book is available on Amazon, and I'm asking you to buy 3 copies. Here's why. One for you, one for somebody you know who needs this book right now in their life. Who's that person? And one for somebody who's going to come into your life. And I have a new program. If you buy 20 books, it's called The Case for Heaven on Earth, and send me the receipt at martin@projectheavenonearth.com. You can just go on projectheavenonearth.com and get my contact information. I'll do a free 1-hour webinar or consult with you.
Wow.
I want to get this out in the world, The Case for Heaven on Earth.
That is amazing. Now, I need to let people know a little bit more about this book, because I really think it should have workbook written somewhere here, because sometimes with books, you're maybe making notes in the margin, or maybe you're like me and you don't want to write in the book. This book has so many areas for you to write, and where the lines are there, it is intended for you to write in it and go back to it for reference. So it is so much more than something you're going to read. It's
what I call, it's a blueprint for how you can actually begin co-creating heaven on earth. Because at the larger level, what we're doing here is we are co-creating the new story of what it means to be a human and what it means to be humanity, namely heaven on earth. It's time, folks. It is time.
And Martin, you and I have both talked before about we're not meant to achieve on our own. I had a mentor tell me once, if you climb the ladder of success, you get up there and you're alone, you did it wrong. The whole idea is our ability to help each other. A thing that I describe to people also is, I know so many people that want that celebrity to be the breakthrough for them. You know, a great example is, if Oprah would recommend my book, it's like, yeah, that's great. But why don't you talk to a lot of other people who can have, I don't want to call it necessarily, I don't want to label it the Oprah effect, but it's like the ripple effect. Why don't you talk with other people who can help advance your goal? There's only
let me interrupt you. I like that phrase, the Oprah effect. Why don't you cause the Oprah effect yourself?
All right, here we go. It's born right here. I had the idea, I didn't know how to do it. And here you are, Martin, helping me name things again. The Oprah effect. So I've thought of different people that I want to invite on my podcast. Would I like to have Oprah? Of course I would. Do I think she's on my list soon? She's on my list. I'm just not sure I'm on hers.
Yeah, we did a training once with Jack Canfield, and one of the people in there had this thing. How do you get Oprah? No, getting Oprah to say yes to your request, which was just, the title was brilliant. What will it take for Oprah to go, I want to do that?
I have an intuition story, and you can help me name this. It's a type of serendipity. I was on an airplane, and this was before COVID. I was in my seat. There was someone in the middle, and there was a person next to that person, a man. And the entire flight in my head, I'm thinking I'm supposed to talk with him. My intuition is telling me I'm supposed to talk with this man. And we get out of the plane, and I don't know what it is. I kind of saw a book he was reading, and I go, oh, he shares an interest with me. And I think to myself, okay, if it's meant to be, God will set it up. I feel it, I'm receiving it. If it's meant to happen, God will set it up. So we walk out of the plane separately, and there's a person in between us, and we both end up at the monitors looking for our next flight. We're standing next to each other, and I thought, okay, this is unusual, Linda, maybe this is it. So I just make some quick comment to him, and I don't even remember what it was, and it sparks a conversation. And he and I talked for 20 minutes. We walked together to his gate, because I said something like, oh, I'm pretty early for my flight. And then we started talking, we walked together, we went, and we talked at his gate for at least 20 minutes. He is a producer in LA. He produces TV shows. He told me specific ones. He told me ones that he was the idea behind. He said, I can't share my name with you. He's very distinctive. If I saw him again, I would know. And I talked with him about things, and I talked with him about the idea with Oprah. and he knows a lot of famous people. And he was saying, I know this person, this person. And I talked with him about the idea, and the thought that I have some big things coming. I haven't fleshed them all out. I'm not quite sure, but I feel like I have a meeting with Oprah in my future. And he said, it's very easy for you to meet with Oprah, Linda. He said, all you need to do is create something that she cares about, and she'll reach out to you.
Love it.
So
Love
his thing
it.
is, stop trying to meet with her, create what you want to create, have her producers call you and ask you to participate. Was that an amazing gift? I wrote and I journaled the whole thing out as I waited for my flight, because I always carry a book with me. I journaled the whole thing and I reread it a week ago. I hadn't thought about that in at least a year. And I was organizing.
I got the title. Do you want the title?
Please.
Oprah called me.
I love it.
But what's interesting is not just the title. I've never said this before.
Yes.
But how nonchalant it was. Oh yeah, Oprah called me yesterday, and we talked to her. Right? It's not Oprah called me.
Right.
Oprah called me. I love that.
It was amazing. So I love the concept of serendipity, and I have a number of other words that are real important to me that I feel tie with serendipity. And one is intuition. And that happened because I followed my intuition. I'm not saying speak to strangers in unsafe places. You know, I'm in an airport, but my intuition was saying this person has value in an interaction with you. And when I get that intuition feeling, I don't know if I'm being there for them, if they're being there for me, or both.
Or both. Do you know, there's a word, Mandorla. Do you know that word?
I don't.
Imagine you have two circles, two equal circles. One is you. Well, let's just use you and I. One is you, one is me. Same size, same diameter. And the two circles come together, and that space in the middle is called the mandorla. It's Italian for the word almond.
Oh.
Because it's the shape of an almond. You see that shape in your mind?
Yes.
The overlap. So each circle still is its own complete circle. And at the same time, the overlap is the generative space for something entirely new. That's another way for me of getting at serendipity. It's that space of overlap, the communion space, the communion, coming together communally. And I love that Oprah called me. It's not outrageous. What's outrageous about it is that, I drank a glass of water. Oprah called me.
She was just talking to me through someone else, and that's totally cool.
Totally cool.
And the way ideas get shared and thoughts. So the intuition to me is a really big thing, and following my intuition. And it's funny because there are moments because I'll have this feeling to talk with people. And as my kids were growing up, they're like, oh no, mom's going to go talk to that person. Then afterward, they say to me, oh, I get it, mom. I get it. Follow your intuition. We're here.
Beautiful.
So it's there's so much conversation for us to have. And one last topic I want to touch on, you talked about it earlier, taking action within 24 hours. I love to talk with people about the law of attraction. I love the phrase. I love the concept. I always remind my clients that the last 6 letters are action. When I do a presentation and I talk about the law of attraction, I write it all in same color text. And then I transition to the next slide where the last 6 letters are green. And they look at it and they go, and it's about action. Serendipity. Yes, you can feel like things just happen to you. The law of attraction is not just stay home, do nothing, and wonderful things show up. It's get out in the world, do things. And my advice to people is when serendipity shows up, it's an opportunity for you. Will you take the action? Will you feel the intuition to do something? or will you let it go?
Will you be aware of it? One of the things that I did several years ago was I did an entire year in which I had to write down every single day at least a minimum of 3 heaven on earth experiences. And
Oh,
this year, yeah, every day, every day. So it makes you look for it. And this year, the theme is feeling blessed by. And it's amazing what happens. And so you might want to do a year of a minimum of 3 serendipity experiences per day. That would really open this up.
okay, here we go. Thank you for that challenge.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for the interview, Linda. I mean,
You're so welcome.
I never know where we always go to wonderful places together.
I love these interviews because they're not orchestrated. I don't have this big structure. I just know that I'm interacting with people that have had an impact on my life, and I want to share you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining with me today, Martin. I sure appreciate it.
Thank you, Linda.
I'll see you soon.
Yep.
Thank you for joining me for Serendipity Stories and my interview with Martin Rutte. You can reach Martin Rutte at martinrutte.com. That's martinrutte.com, or at his book website, projectheavenonearth.com. I took up Martin's challenge, and there's a really interesting story that comes as a result. I talk about that in my interview with Patrick Mosier, so you'll find more there. Thanks for joining me, and I would like you to look out for those serendipity moments in your life when that unexpected, wonderful opportunity is in front of you and the law of attraction, the law of action shows up for you. Take action. I'll see you on the next interview.